Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm DG Armandoh and today I want to talk to you about the basics of vision abuse as a mid laner. This episode will feature defensive warding, sweepers forcing the warding trinket, the mid ledge ward, and some great spots for picks. This will only cover the basics, so if you want to learn more, make sure to let us know. First off, let's talk about defensive warding. If you ever find yourself getting caught all the time by early ganks, make sure to pay attention here. Since you'll probably start with either a Doran's Ring as an AP mid laner, or a Long Sword as a AD mid laner, perhaps even a Crystalline Flask, your only friend in the early game is your Warding Trinket. Since it stays up for only 60 seconds while having a 120-second cooldown, you can't have a ward up all the time. So, where to put it? One thing that might help you is to keep track of the enemy jungler's path. If you see the enemy jungler just gank top, it may be better to put it in your top Russian lane rather than the bottom one. Another thing is anticipating the enemy jungler's moves. Try to scout where he starts and where to expect ganks. For instance, if the top laner comes into lane a bit late when their bottom lane is already there, it's likely that the jungler started by taking the grump and getting a leash from the top laner. Keep in mind that the jungler path and ganks will be different with other junglers. For instance, a Warwick will try to get his level 6 as soon as possible, while Lee Sin will probably try to do some early ganks. Since your trinket has a 60-second longer cooldown than it's active, you want to make the most of the time that it's up. If the enemy jungler just died during a gank in another lane, there's no reason to put it down once it's off cooldown immediately, simply because he can't gank your lane while being dead. Also, he won't be in your lane instantly, so once he's back alive, you probably have around a 20-second window where you don't have to be afraid of ganks. Use this time to your advantage and place the ward once the jungler gets back around your lane. Next off, pink wards. It can't be stressed enough how valuable these are. They cost 25 gold more than a green ward, but they will still stay in their spot until they're detected. Generally, I'll get my pink ward on my first back and place it in the banana bush, as is shown right here. This bush will give you vision of the enemy jungler when coming through river and won't be checked quite as often as the bush near the scuttle crab. Then the warding versus the sweeping trinket dilemma. This is different every game. If I'm getting camped early and can't get a lead on my laning opponent, I'll keep my warding trinket a bit longer. This should help me to avoid ganks, which makes the enemy jungler waste his time, and hopefully our jungler can do something good in the meantime. However, if I do have a lane advantage over my opponent, I generally swap out my trinket pretty fast, as long as I can get some wards too. Why do I do this? Well, the sweeping trinket gives you some amazing possibilities. You can push your lane and do a fake roam and wait in a bush for your opponent to come by. Or you can deny your opponent vision to make ganks for your jungler possible. And you can also start camping a bush elsewhere for an enemy to walk in. Then one more thing about the sweeper. Don't wait until you're fully built to upgrade it, because it's probably one of the best 475 gold you can spend in the game. Since a ward costs your opponent 75 gold and gives you 30 when destroying it, you already have your money back after 4 wards. It gives you the possibility to check at least 2 or 3 bushes for wards, rather than a 1 circle the standard sweeper does, and gives you vision of stealthy champs such as Twitch, Rengar, Talon or Akali. Right, with that discussed, let's go to some more aggressive wards. First of all, the mid-ledge ward. This is the ward you place over the mid-ledge. I prefer doing this on the bottom side of the lane, simply because most of the time there are more things happening around the dragon area, since Baron isn't up for contest until later on. This ward is great for scouting out jungler activity, since it's a passage you'll use a lot during the game. It's also great for seeing if your opponent is going to follow you if you decide to roam to bot lane. Not only does this give you the information that it might become a 3v3, you can also decide to do a fake roam and wait for your opponent to come out. Simply wait in the bush around dragon and wait for him and burst him down. However, don't forget to sweep the bush first, of course. Also, around the 8-minute mark, the mid laner will probably start going to their blue. If you have your mid ledge ward up at that time, it gives you a great catch potential, especially if you plan it with your own jungler. Last thing we will be discussing today are some spots that are great for making picks. These wards are great for getting picks since the enemy basically has to run in a straight line toward it, being a tasty target for some straight line skill shots. You can use these wards to get a pick before a big objective like the dragon for example. have a look at a couple of pics with fishing abuse. That's it for today's episode about fishing abuse. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and I will see you on the Rift.
Don't you trust me?